Good morning. Going to talk a little bit about the fruit now that's formed from the seeds. So, um, one of my personal favorite parts, just because it talks about, fruit and who doesn't love fruit. So, okay. So what a fruit is, it's going to be a matured ovary that may contain additional floral parts, like your seeds, sepals, things like that, the floral tube. I always like to gross the junior high kids out and say, "Oh, you're eating a matured ovary." Uh, so, but it is what you're eating. So, okay. There's three different basic types. There's simple fruits, aggregate fruits, and multiple fruits. So your simple fruit comes from one flower. There's one pistil. There might be more than one carpel, just kind of depends. If you look at the picture there that I've drawn you can kind of see there's only one little carpel there. With aggregate fruits, this comes from one flower again, but there's more than one carpels. Sometimes they'll be fused, sometimes they won't be. And I've drawn that for you on the pictures. Multiple fruits come from more than one flower. So each part of the fruit is its own flower. And then I've drawn you that one there at the bottom, or in the middle, I guess. But you can kind of see that there's four. Good morning, buddy. There's four different flowers. So all of the fruits are going to be either a simple, aggregate, or multiple fruit. Going to kind of go over the basic fruit structure because they all kind of have this basic setup. The ovary eventually is going to develop into three distinct layers called a pericarp. Well, I take that back. The pericarp is the group of all three. So you're going to have the endocarp, the mesocarp, and the exocarp. The endocarp is the innermost portion. The exocarp is the outermost layer. So, and all three together make up that pericarp. If you look at your drawing there, the seed's in the middle. It's not the endocarp. The endocarp goes around the seed. Sometimes it's fused to it, sometimes it's free. So, it just depends on the fruit. Okay. So, first that we're going to look at are the simple fleshy fruits. These are what you typically think of as fruits. This is a very large group of fruits. So, the first type of simple fruit that's a fleshy fruit is a berry. And then you've got a couple of specific categories within the berry family. You've got a true berry, a pepo, and a hesperidium. A true berry is going to have a fleshy endocarp, a fleshy mesocarp, and a thin exocarp. So think of things like tomatoes. It's a true berry. So that fleshy endocarp is going to be all the kind of the excess stuff that goes around the seeds. Then you've got what you might call the outer covering, the inside outer covering of the tomato, and that's that mesocarp. And then the very thin membrane that goes around it all, or the skin of the tomato, would be the exocarp. Okay, your pepo. It's going to have a fleshy endocarp, a fleshy mesocarp, and a hard exocarp. We're going to call this one kind of like a rind because it's going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say chewy, but bendable. It's got a little more substance than that True Berry's exocarp. So think of squash, cucumbers, any one of those. So the stuff that goes around it is kind of fleshy. The seeds, the inside there is going to be the inner thing that kind of goes around, that makes up a lot of your what you would call like the squash part that you eat, be your mesocarp. And then you obviously with some squashes you would take off that rind like exocarp. So a little bit more structure, I guess you could say, with those exocarps. Your Hesperidium is the third type of berry, and it's going to have a fleshy endocarp, fleshy mesocarp, and a leathery exocarp. It's going to be very much like a rind. It's still going to be kind of hard, but it's going to secrete oil. So this is going to be your citrus family. Things like your lemons, limes, oranges, grapefruits. So in this case, we're eating the fleshy endocarp, and then the fleshy mesocarp would be the inner part of that rind that people call. So okay, the next set is going to be the drupes. So these are still the simple fleshy fruits. They're going to be okay, so these guys are going to have a single seed that comes from a pyrogenous flower. So it's going to have a hard and stony endocarp, a fleshy mesocarp, which is what we end up eating, and then a fleshy or fibrous-like exocarp. So those would be all the things with a pit in them. Peaches, cherries, plums, olives, a coconut. So those are called drupes. The pome is the last of your simple fleshy fruits. So with this one, it comes from an epigenous flower. So that it's the ovary is inferior to your sepals and the rest of your plant parts. So with this one, what ends up happening is we end up eating the mature floral tube. So I just realized I drew some of these. So if you look at your pome on your diagrams, You've got the pome there on the far right. So what's going to end up happening is that ovary will develop some, but really what's going to develop is that floral tube that's surrounding the ovary. And that's going to turn into your pome. So your pomes have a fleshy pericarp, and that's what we eat. So all of it's fleshy, all three layers. So in this instance, pomes are going to be things like apples, pears, those types of fruits where, I mean, you're eating, yes, the ovary, but you're also eating the floral tube. What ends up happening a lot of times with these particular types of fruits is the sepals, the petals normally fall off. But the sepals, usually it's not uncommon for them to stay behind, and they end up on the bottom side of your fruit. So what you would call the bottom side of your fruit. So those little tiny leaf-like structures on the bottom side of your fruits, like on the bottom side of your apples, those are going to be the sepals. Tomatoes, the little, if you've, obviously, I'm sure you've seen the tomatoes grow on the vine. They've got those long, thin, leaf-like things on the top. Those are going to be your sepals. So, so they still usually stay on the fruit. Sometimes they fall off, but going back into the drupe, you can see I've drawn you kind of the structure of the drupe. It was the only one that we had a drawing for. I didn't really draw anything else, but you can kind of see that there's the exocarp on the outside, the mesocarp on the middle there, which is what you end up eating. And then you've got that stony endocarp on the outside. If you've ever broken up that that pit before, and you could do it on a cherry pit or a peach pit, probably have better luck on the peach pit because it's bigger. But you would kind of see, you'd open it up and there would be a seed on the inside. If you really looked, you've got that food reserve there in the middle, which would be kind of a liquid / solid substance. And then the interesting thing about this is in the inside of the endocarp, there are these structures called eyes that develop. And these eyes, there's 3 of them that develop. I don't know if you can see that I've drawn those. But what ends up happening is 2 of them are blind, and what we mean by that is they don't have anything behind them. Nothing develops behind them. But behind one of those eyes, the embryo will develop. So, and then you've got, obviously, the testa going around it on the inside of that endocarp. So, we'll go ahead and stop there because the dry fruits are not super long, but they'll be a little longer. So, and I'm not sure how much time it's going to take you for the quiz. So, anyway, we'll probably have another quiz next week. So, And if I had to guess, I'll probably only lecture through the middle of the 18th. So, and then maybe I'll give you a little bit more. We'll see. And then, I'm not sure if we'll try to have your final. I'll have to double check when grades are due, but let me know when all your other finals are, so I don't pile it on top. So, but I'll give you a week before the final. We'll have a test over this particular unit, and then I'll give you a final over all 3 units. So if I had to guess, you'll probably take your test over this maybe towards the end of the week of the 18th, maybe the early part of the 25th, depending on how long it takes us to get through some of those lectures. And then, like I said, I'll give you a whole week off, kind of like to simulate finals week, to get ready for your final over all 3 units. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And have a good day.